The NHL playoffs have begun, and we're off to an insane start. Teams are already trying to tear each other apart. Overtime heroes have stepped up to the plate, while crazy comebacks with legacy performances have transpired into unbelievable endings. We're just getting going, but the NHL playoffs have started with a bang. So, let's cover everything that's happened so far and break down how each one of these teams are trying to expose each other. Now, Saturday is where it all begins, and it starts with the Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. Now, I know you Jets fans are nervous. Playoff success has been few and far between, and they draw one of the hottest teams since the Four Nations in St. Louis. And Game 1 was a roller coaster. First, Robbie Thomas on the power play goes upstairs on Connor Hellebuyck. It's 1-0 St. Louis. Palms start to get a bit sweaty for Jets fans, but the Jets' power play has got some tricks of their own, being number one in the league. If you watched our playoff preview, you know that the Jets have a 1-3-1 formation with a ton of movement being the key. But here, watch them almost get into a diamond down low look for a greasy backdoor play. Kyle Connor doesn't like what he sees, so he resets, and there's the Jets' motion back in play. The man in the slot kicks out to create some space. They try and go to the bumper, and look at that. Luck Boy, Illinois, Mark Scheifele gets a bounce from the hockey gods. This game is all tied up. Now, St. Louis knows that if they're going to beat Hellebuyck, traffic in front is a must. In our preview, we highlighted how it's burned him in the past, especially in last year's playoffs and in Four Nations. And on the go-ahead power play goal for St. Louis, it was a textbook screen by Oscar Sundqvist, and Hellebuyck couldn't see a damn thing. That's the blueprint right there. They're going to want to follow that 3-2 game until Iafallo ties it up in the third, and then we get a little chess match going. With a minute left, we got a face-off in St. Louis's end. Quick little nugget here. The Blues, they play a box plus one or zone coverage in their own end. So, Winnipeg, knowing this, is going to send Scheifele on a wheel route around the net as soon as they win the draw. They go D to D, and then are supposed to hit Scheifele back down low on the far side. Second period, they tried it. Nothing came of it. This time, they do it again. Scheifele around the bend, Winnipeg D to D, and here's the difference. Kyle Connor, the secret assassin, finds the soft spot. St. Louis can't sort out the coverage, and it's good night, Jim Kite. The playoffs are all about the inches, baby, and a split-second misread cost St. Louis. The Jets take Game 1, but not without St. Louis sending a message. All-out line brawl to end the game. The playoffs are here, fellas. Fire me up. The Jets have a 1-0 series lead. And so with that, we move on to Game 2. Now, the Blues kicked off the scoring in Game 1, but Mark Scheifele ain't letting that happen again. Late stages of the first, he drives the net. Binnington goes for the Pocahontas, swing and a miss, and it finds a way to squeak through. 1-0 lead for the Jets, but hold the phone. Blues on the power play, and Jimmy Snuggerud with 0.8 seconds in the first goes top shelf where Mama hides the goods. The Blues power play, 3 for 7 in this series so far. They're looking somewhat dangerous. However, what feels different for the Jets this season is their 5-on-5 offense. It is among the best in the league, and it's because of their execution of their 2-1-2-0 zone pressure. They're heavy, they support each other so well below the goal line to win battles, and then they funnel it to the F3 in a trigger spot. So beginning of the third period, it's tied at 1. Puck goes below the goal line. Scheifele wins his battle on the wall, and Perfetti's right there for support, and there he is again. Kyle Connor, the secret assassin, the F3 trigger man in the soft spot, and that would be the game winner. The Jets shut the door 2-1. Hellebuyck stops 21 of 22 shots, and Winnipeg heads to St. Louis with a 2-0 series lead. I think with that, Game 3 now becomes a must-win for St. Louis. To go down 3-0 to the President Trophy winners with one of the greatest goalies in the game, that is a very tall task to overcome. Then we go to the Rantanen Bowl between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. No Gabriel Landeskog in Game 1 just yet, but I'm sure he's going to appear like Batman halfway through this series. And apparently, so is maybe Miro Heiskanen. I think we all thought he was going to miss all of round 1, but this guy's out there for the morning skate looking loosey-goosey and is now apparently only day-to-day for Game 1. Oh yeah, the mind games are on, but the Stars have been struggling coming into this series. Since the trade deadline, the team is in the bottom third of the league in all of these defensive metrics. That is no bueno, but everyone starts off in the playoffs with 0 wins. So, out of the gate, the Stars to look to get a little PP magic of their own, but Mackenzie Blackwood for the Avs says nah. He would be doing that a lot this game as he robs Wyatt Johnson a little later on as well. Of course, for the Avs, it's death, taxes, and Arturi Lehkonen being clutch in the playoffs. How about this goal for him, though? He just turns into Andrea Pirlo and launches the puck with his foot while falling, kick in motion. Nope. we got ourselves a good goal. Now, going into this series, we talked about the Avs' ability to weaponize their speed in all directions. Usually their stars in Mack and McCarr can drive back defenses and take advantage of the space east-west to make teams pay. On top of this, the Avs also led the NHL in points and goals by defensemen, and it's because more than any other team, their D get active in the rush and push the pace. And so we get a taste of it in Game 1. Now, off this rush, both Manson and Taves, who are defensemen, are going to jump up. As this play reaches the Stars' blue line, the speed of Taves and the other Avs winger force the Dallas D to back up. That's going to create a lane east-west, and because Manson is up in the play, it creates a perfect option. The finish for the goal is just art, and that is how speed can be weaponized in every direction. Avs take Game 1. The dog, Nathan MacKinnon, gets 3 points. Rantanen and Goose Eggs, and Dallas fans are beside themselves. This team looks nothing like the cup contender they were considered throughout the season. However, Game 2 for the Stars is an opportunity to prove that wrong, and look at this. Gabriel Landeskog is taking warm-ups. The time is coming, but not yet. He sits out for now and will likely make a comeback at home for Game 3. The building is going to be rocking for that in Colorado. Now, as expected, these two teams were going to go blow for blow. Back and forth, both teams scoring on the power play in the first. Avs take the lead late in the second with a Logan O'Connor chip shot while falling down. Not bad. But then Dadonov scores to tie it up in the third, and we get overtime. Now, Mackenzie Blackwood apparently is a yoga enthusiast because he does the splits and robs Mason Marchment early in the OT. My goodness, he was phenomenal in this game. But sometimes it's the unsung heroes. Colin Blackwell steps into the middle, throws one on net, goes back for seconds, and then roofs it. He wasn't even in the lineup for Game 1, and he steps into the series and ties it. When two teams are this even, that is when you need your depth players to step up. Dallas gets a monumental win heading back to Colorado, and we're locked in for the long haul when it comes to this series. Moving on to Vegas and Minnesota. Philip Gustafsson getting the start for the Wild in this one. He had a solid year, but the Knights, well, they did their homework. Gustafsson is a good goaltender, and he helped the Wild get into the dance, but one area of weakness has been high blocker side. Specifically, if he has to move laterally to get set, or if he resorts to his RVH while he's on his post. Even looking at this location map from Sport Contract based on where he's allowed the most goals, high blocker is an area where other teams have targeted. So, first goal of the game, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Hurdle. Quick steal, Gustafsson swiftly goes into that RVH stance on the post, and there's the daylight. It's a near perfect shot, but Vegas shooters know it can be exploited. Same thing happens later in the game. Vegas gets Gustafsson moving laterally. He can't get set in time, and Howden takes advantage high blocker. Now, in our preview video, we said that if Minnesota wants a chance in this series, they have to find ways to get behind the layers of Vegas, and they did that on the first goal. Good poise on the breakout. 2 Vegas players are already behind the puck. It's advanced up ice, and Minnesota is going to make a nifty bump play into the middle to now get 3 Vegas forwards behind the puck. Again, it's only a matter of inches, but beating the layers opens up a cross-seam lane where Kaprizov can just turn into a magician and find Boldy. Minnesota's second goal is a blueprint for this also. You can see on this zone entry just how well Vegas can defend with numbers back there, so there's just nowhere to go. Knowing that Vegas is going to snuff out the play, 2 Wild overload the strong side where Zuccarello stays in open ice to capitalize on a turnover or be first to the pressure on a change of sides. Vegas goes up the wall, the overload creates a turnover, and good things end up happening. However, the details of playoff hockey can make all the difference. Special teams is a big one heading into this series. Vegas, top 3 power play. Wild, bottom 3 PK. So, off the faceoff, any clean loss for Minnesota, Gaudreau, the center, has to go right to the top of the diamond formation that Minnesota plays on the penalty kill. But look at Hurdle. He ties him up, gets away with a trip, and now there's a breakdown. Faber starts pointing at someone to fill that pressure at the top of the diamond. Gaudreau can't. He's behind the play. That gives Theodore enough time to walk in, fake the shot. That leaves Foligno no choice but to leave his post and try and block the shot. And now Pavel Dorofeev is wide open for the goal. That kid's a silent killer, by the way. 35 tucks on the season, and nobody knows him. Could it have been a missed call? Maybe, but you take what you can get, and Vegas makes all of it to take Game 1 4-2. Then it's on to LA versus Edmonton. If the Kings lose this series for a 4th year in a row, Edmonton owns the rights to the franchise at this point. But this Kings team is different this year. They're deeper, they have solid goaltending, and defensively, they're just a wall. Through 40 minutes of this game, this looked like a no contest. The heaviness of LA's forecheck and support made life a living hell on the Oilers' D. It was a total fire drill at times for Edmonton back there, and it's because of the constant pressure. All of a sudden, D's are rushing their breakouts, timing is all off, and we get pizzas right up the middle. But for how outmatched Edmonton was, there is simply no one like Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. They connect on one sickening passing play before the end of the second, and then McJesus arises. Assist number 2. He takes it to the net like an animal and feeds the worm Corey Perry. That makes it 5-3 Kings. Things start to get a little sweaty now. Assist number 3. He's going to wait for Drew Doughty to go belly to the ice like a starfish, has the patience of a monk, and then feeds Hyman for the tap-in. 5-4 Kings. 30 seconds later, McDavid says, I'll just do it myself. He dances Gavrikov, steps in. Kemper goes into that RVH. Most players, as we saw, go short side. Connor McDavid is not most players, ladies and gentlemen. He spots the tiny little 5-hole. Close your damn legs, son. He slips her right there. And my God, what a comeback and what a player. 4 points to carry his team to a heartbreaking loss. 40 seconds left in the game. The Kings step up and score right away to avoid the choke. Oilers fans must be sick to their stomach. A legacy game and comeback wasted as LA takes game 1. If this is any indication of the level that McDavid and Draisaitl are going to play at, this series is going to be really, really close, and it's going to be electric. That being said, if Edmonton's going to win, they must have their depth show up, or else the LA Kings are finally going to get it done. Meanwhile, in the East, things get kicked off between Carolina and New Jersey. Now, for most fans, this series is a lock for Carolina. No Jack Hughes, no chance. And 3 minutes in, Carolina brings the heat. Point shot from Chatfield. It finds a way. It's 1-0. Hurricanes pouring on the pressure. They outshoot the Devils 17-5 in the first. Somebody get Jacob Markstrom a beer and a bag of ice because the tsunami of pressure just kept coming. 6 minutes in, Logan Stankoven, best last name in the league, and the Mikko Rantanen parting gift. Kid has a huge game. He buries his first. And then 5 minutes later, on the power play, the postman arrives. Ping fries are done. He goes post and in. That's his second. And Jersey doesn't even know what to hit him. They were also dropping like flies in this game too. First, Brendan Dillon hits his head. He's a little dazed and confused. Turn the lights off, get him a water, do something, and then watch this circus unfold. Luke Hughes gets hurt trying to defend the rush. That pisses off goalie Jacob Markstrom, so he's looking for blood. He sees Svechnikov in front and says, fuck this guy, I'm going to give him a whack, and his own teammate in Cody Glass skates by at the perfect time, and it's friendly fire. Holy fellas, what the hell is going on? They're already missing Jack Hughes. 3 more players get hurt. They get outshot 44-23. Mr. Anderson looked brilliant for Carolina in this game. This could be a quick one. Devils need an answer for the Hurricanes' pressure, and honestly, I'm not sure they have one. Moving on, it's the Battle of Ontario. This one is going to be a war that's won in the trenches because both of these teams make their living below the goal line and with their forecheck. So naturally, it's only fitting that the Leafs score a goal off the rush from a defenseman. Go figure, as the Leafs were dead last in the NHL in terms of goals scored from the back end, and they get one right away to kick off the game. For once, Scotiabank Arena isn't a morgue, and it's rocking. That's exactly what they need, and a man who needs a monumental playoffs for the blue and white is Mitch Marner. He gets a breakaway, goes bar down. The Leafs have the Sens on their heels early, but Drake Batherson gets one on the doorstep near the end of the first as Ottawa cuts the lead in half. This is where we started to see the difference in experience between the two teams. The Sens, they started getting into penalty trouble. Tavares buries on the power play, and then right after, Ridley Gregg makes him eat a cross-check to the mouth. So it's back to the power play we go, and Will Nye the Science Guy wastes no time. The Leafs power play last playoffs only had one power play goal against Boston, and 28 minutes in, they've already beat that. Other than stay out of the box, the Sens are going to have to look tactically at their faceoffs. All the Leafs power play goals, they came very shortly after a faceoff win. And even though the Sens are ranked 4th in the NHL in terms of faceoff wins, Toronto did not let their kill get set up, and they attacked right away, and they made them pay. Leaf Nation is fired up. They're chanting Brady sucks. Craig Berube is here reminding Leaf fans how many shots they're going to need after this game's over, and then the message sending starts. Everyone starts mixing it up. Max Domi, like father, like son, throwing uppercuts. Stripes has enough. He needs a cheat sheet just to account for all the penalties and names that happened in the last minute of the game. The Sens get a couple of licks in at the end. This is only game 1, and it's the fucking Battle of Ontario. Leafs take it 6-2. Despite some soft calls for playoff hockey, the Sens must stay more disciplined for Game 2, but this was their first rodeo in the playoffs, so I expect as the series goes on, they will settle into their game. Now let's move on to Washington versus Montreal. Experience versus youth. Alex Ovechkin has more playoff goals than the entire Canadiens roster. Now let's jump near the end of the first period. Caps have a power play, and for years, everyone knows that the Caps are trying to find Ovi in his office. But this year, instead of letting the killers set up, Washington has thrown a wrinkle to allow Ovi to use his deadly one-timer off the entry. This starts with a middle lane carry while Ovi anchors the offensive blue line. Washington is going to make a 2v1 pass at the line, and as soon as they get that entry, Ovi explodes into the space in the high slot for an uncontested shot. Exact same design on the goal where Ovi actually broke the record, and it's exactly how he gets goal number 1 to kick off this game. And even though he's the greatest goal scorer of all time, he's still out here bullying guys at 39 as he levels Caulfield. Caps held a 2-0 lead going into the third. But then Montreal starts to get their game going. Goal Caulfield, power play goal halfway through the third, and now the heat's on. Montreal has the Caps on their heels. Logan Thompson can't control the rebound. It's panic at the disco, but Nick Suzuki slows it right down and ties the game. Montreal, do you believe? The kids do. They force overtime in Game 1. But in this game, unfortunately for Habs fans, Ovechkin was a man on a mission. 3 minutes into OT, the greatest goal scorer of all time is left all alone for a split second in front. We do a lot of in-depth breakdowns on this channel, but sometimes it's as simple as don't leave the best goal scorer of all time alone in front of the net. He bats it out of midair. The Russian machine ain't never slowing down, baby. This guy's got 900 career goals, and he's never scored a playoff OT winner until this very game. Final stat line for Ovi, 2 goals, 1 assist, 4 shots, and 7 hits. Absolute animal. Great comeback for the Habs, but their last 20 minutes have to carry over for the full 60 in Game 2 if they want a shot at tying up the series. So, what do you think of all the playoff series so far? There's still one that hasn't started as we're recording this video. That's Florida versus Tampa. Let us know in the comments down below who surprised you so far to start these playoffs. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications for the channel. We're going to be doing breakdowns for the entire first round and all throughout the playoffs. We're moving to 2 breakdowns and recaps to keep up with the chaos of round 1. So make sure you're up to date. Click on any of the videos here if you want to see some of our past breakdowns, and we'll see you in the next one.